So if I had it to do over again, if I had to start from nothing, if I lost all my tools stopped working, or if I, suddenly came into some money, and there was a big fire, I don't know. Okay, let's just say, contrive a scenario where I need to start over. What would I do differently? Well, some tools I would definitely buy and others I definitely wouldn't. There was a time when we used to, I can tell you the tools that I would absolutely positively buy again, and maybe even the order that I would buy them in. I would probably buy 2 more bandsaws. I really like the Rikon bandsaw. I would probably buy a couple of those. I might get the bigger ones this time. Anytime, if you can buy a bigger tool, I would say buy the bigger tool. If you can buy a more powerful tool, buy a more powerful tool. I would absolutely buy 2 more of those Rikon bandsaws, or maybe Grizzly or whatever. Laguna makes an awesome bandsaw. I would absolutely buy another pin router. Now, I don't know what I would do. I would probably, given that I have spoiled pin routers for everybody, if I were you and you're looking for a pin router, I would not buy the Jet, was it POF22, unless there was a dash something after it, because of the way the pin interfaces with the cutter. I would buy another pin router. I think the Grizzly pin routers are excellent, and you can just buy them new. If I started with the Grizzly pin router, Chris and I talk about this a lot. If we'd started with the Grizzly, we probably would just be perfectly happy with the Grizzly. It's a good tool. I would get, maybe if you could get the bigger one, I would get the bigger one. Here's where I wouldn't wait to buy the fretboard radius sander. Okay, the fretboard radius sander is that swinging radius-y deal. Get that immediately, because even though you only use it for a few moments for every guitar, it is positively, it eliminates so much hassle and headache. You've got to have that. I tell you, I really like the new rolling workbenches. I would absolutely buy those. We had lots and lots of tables that we had like handmade. Those are good, but the rolling tool carts, way better. I would get those even if we weren't doing workshops. I would do those again in a second. I'd get a bigger planer than I got. I got the 15-inch planer. I'd go with 20. The 15-inch planer is mostly good for everything until it's not. In fact, the very first time I used that planer was on a Firebird, and it almost went through. If I got the 20-inch planer with the helical cutter, I'd absolutely get that. I wouldn't mess around with a 6-inch planer. I'd go with an 8-inch planer. I probably wouldn't buy the shaper again. I would probably buy a good router table and lots and lots and lots of routers that I could I just leave the bits in there and just go for it. That was a big game changer for us when we started realizing we could just leave router bits in the routers and just swap them back and forth. I would absolutely build another deadhead sander. That was a great tool. I might build it a little differently than I did this time. I would probably put the deadhead part. I wouldn't try to double it up. So right now our deadhead sander has a platen on one side for doing stuff that we rarely, if ever, use it for, and then we have the deadhead part for necks. I would probably just set it up for doing necks. It would be easier, I bet. I would absolutely want to have the old man machine, whether I bought it or built it. You got to have an old man machine. I would start doing fretboards where we cut the fret slots in the fretboard after it's glued on. The way that we do that now has saved me so much time and headache. I would do frets exactly the way that I'm doing them now, and I wouldn't spend any time doing them any differently. It used to be that we would spend lots of time gluing in frets with wood glue, which worked, but it doesn't work as good as with the CA glue that we now, which is StuMac number 20. Fret press. Never, ever, ever hammer in frets. Always use a fret press. If you get the fractal fret press, that's a super cool way to go too. I think that everything that we do now, I wouldn't mess around. I would never have used Lacquer if I'd known that the learning curve with Lacquer is just as steep as it is with the modern paints. And by the time you get done with, maybe steeper with lacquer, you can repair lacquer easier. But again, I'm not in the business to make sure that the repair guy is happy. I'm in the business to make sure that the guitar buyer, you guys, are happy. Chris would probably back me up on this too. But yeah, I wouldn't fiddle around with lacquer any more than no more. Sealer, same thing. I would switch immediately to the Simtex sealer, and rather than we had lots of things where we would use like vinyl sealer and then lacquer and then Simtex sealer and then lacquer. Then we finally landed on Simtex sealer and modern paints. And now we've developed our 73 finish. I love the 73 finish. I wouldn't change anything about that. UV pore fill. There are pore fillers and then there are pore fillers. And the UV pore filler is positively, absolutely irreplaceable in my book. The UV pore filler does a lot of good stuff. You don't need to use it. You just save yourself a lot of time sealing. So what we would do in the past is we'd seal everything, sand it all back and go, nah, we got to seal this one again. Seal it again. Another round of sealer. UV pore filler has basically eliminated that. So UV pore fill, absolutely. Yeah. So, the other thing that I would not, you guys might remember, if you're watching my channel for any amount of time, you might remember back in the old days, we had all of those templates on the wall. They were good templates. Having see-through plastic templates is a game changer. And I used to be like, you don't need that stuff. Blah, blah, blah. Get the see-through plastic templates. Whether you get Steve's or somebody else's. You should get Steve's because they're better than everybody else's. But the see-through plastic templates, the acrylic templates, now they don't last. If you drop them, they might crack or they bust or something. But you know what? So would those Masonite ones. Just get the see-through acrylic ones and just take care of them, you know. If you're using a hand router, make copies of them. If you're using a pin router, which you should endeavor to do, you just go ahead and use them like that. Because there's no way, there's a way, but if you go all the way through, plunge all the way through your piece into the acrylic template, you got bigger problems than you're going into your pin then, and you got a lot of issues there. So anyway, that's what I would do differently if I had to start all over again. I wanna play my guitar the only way.